Hello everyone, my name is Joshua. This is the 138th video on my video journal series. Today's date is Friday, the 26th of June, 2026. How's everyone been? I've been pretty good today, and something I want to talk about with you is litter. Now today I was traveling along a road, and I just saw a bunch of just trash just spilled out on the other side of the road, and I'm just like, well, whoever put that rubbish there, certainly did not care about the environment. Either a garbage bag got destroyed or someone just dumped all the, I don't know, trash there. It was just like a huge mess. And it kind of, it was, just a little bit, I guess, intrusive, I guess, because it's, impacting other people on the road, drivers, people who need to cross the road, and it's also a source of pollution. Whenever I go out to the city, you always just see litter around everywhere, at least in most areas that I see. It might not be on the same level as like other places I've been to, but it just disappoints me to see, I guess, litter. And especially now where we're so, I guess, conscious about the environment and global warming, you think that people will be able to hang on to their trash just a little bit more? I've seen people clip their toenails or fingernails on trains as well. I think trains are the worst offender because I catch the train a lot. Same with buses and ferries. I mean, ferries aren't as dirty as like trains, for instance, but just the side of the seats, you got all this like junk and wrappers and half-eaten apples. Um, and something I found when I went to Japan is that there's not many public bins. So I thought, why is there not litter everywhere in Japan if there's like virtually no public bins? But then I realized, oh yeah, people just take the rubbish with them home. If you go to a park, the rubbish bin will basically be a plastic bag tied around a pole. And I remember thinking about that, like just seeing that in person and thinking, is this an actual rubbish bin? They can't like afford to get a dedicated rubbish bin. It's just you literally a bag tied around a pole. And I always found that to be a little bit weird. But then I realized, oh yeah, Japan, they don't really need public rubbish bins because people, they just take their trash with them. Now I'm not saying to take a whole heap of trash with you home, but like if you can't find a public bin and you got like a wrapper, just keep it in your pocket, or just there's always. Sorry, I just heard like some rattle noise out there. I don't think it's anything serious. Just might be a animal or whatever. But yeah, basically, there's always going to be rubbish bins at train stations and most city corners around here in Sydney. Yeah, I don't know why people just litter. I guess it's same thing with Lime bikes as well. Those e-bikes. If you're if you live in Sydney, you know what I'm talking about. Those electronic bikes where people just dump them on the streets, dump them in the river. They don't like place them in convenient spots. They're often blocking footpaths, creating hazards for less mobile people, wheelchair users. That also falls into the category of litter. Basically just dumping something, without any care or consideration. And I reckon, even in fast food restaurants, but with fast food restaurants, not many fast food joints here in Sydney nowadays offer trays. So you often just have to eat from a bag, even though you're eating inside of a restaurant. And, I think they stopped doing the trays after COVID, but there's some Macca's and other fast food joints which I see trays like behind the counter, but nobody uses them. I think they were phased out after COVID because they didn't want to spend extra money trying to clean those trays or whatever. But when I went to Japan, New Zealand, they still had the trays. And it saves on having to clean up the restaurant. But I guess fast food joints don't really care about the cleanliness of the dining area anymore, at least here in Australia. You know, um, but I reckon it's not really, I guess, that hard to, I guess, keep a hold of a small pile of rubbish, just a couple of wrappers, a fast food bag, or whatever, and just look for a bin around you. Littering can end up in, I guess, litter can end up in the ocean. It can end up, obviously strangling the turtles. But it's mostly on an individual basis. Like if you believe in a clean environment, a safe environment, then obviously those people won't litter. But sometimes it's just, um, I guess people who think, hey, it's a city, whatever. There's like 1,000 germs everywhere. What is a little rapper gonna do? And it's just sure it's a little rapper, but it just makes me sad whenever I see litter. I remember my dad went to Los Angeles in the 1990s, and he actually took video. He had like a mini, he had like not mini. It was actually quite big for the time. Camcorder, not camcorder. He had like a video recorder, an old Samsung video recorder. It was quite bulky. In fact, I actually got it here on one of the shelves, but I'm not going to bring it out today. But yeah. So he took video of LA in the late '90s, and I remember watching that video. It was on I believe VHS, yes, because those cameras supported a mini DV format, I think, um, or mini like tape format, which you can later convert to VHS. So I ended up watching these tapes like years ago, and I just saw all the trash along the sidewalk in LA, even like back then. And I was just thinking, man, I haven't seen that level of, I guess, pollution here in Sydney, except maybe like Parramatta Station. Parramatta Station, Central Station. You see, like when you're on the train, you just see discarded junk, even on the like railway tracks and gravel. And I guess it's maybe the socio-economic situation within those areas. And I'm not here to like call out those group of people, but at the same time, it is just really depressing. And I guess like the cleanest railway station I've been to, Olympic Park is pretty clean, but yet again, it's mostly vacant. It's mostly empty. Sorry, um, except when there's major events. So yeah, not a whole lot of people, I guess, trash that station. I guess everyone's just too busy to go on like the train, so they're not waiting on the platforms. Oh yeah, just throw my can of Coke or Pepsi on the railway tracks. Nothing will happen. I remember one time I was on a train and someone was drinking a VB, which you're not allowed to, by the way. You're not allowed to drink alcohol on the train, but obviously this guy was drinking, and he just drops this glass of VB onto like the railway tracks when the door opened. I'm thinking to myself, that is the stupidest thing ever. If this train derails, it's going to be your fault. And, it's just, yeah, it makes me sad. We all deserve to live in a clean environment, an environment taken well care of. And usually, I guess, Sydney is not as bad as LA when it comes to, in terms of pollution. But we still have a long way to go. It's certainly not Tokyo or it's another very clean city. Tokyo, well, most Japanese cities are very clean. New Zealand, when I went there, it was relatively clean. Um, I saw very little litter. Um, but yeah, basically, I guess it's like the whole shopping trolley dilemma. Like, if you can take a shopping trolley with you from the shopping center to the shops to a full shop, you should have the same, I guess, you should be able to return that trolley back where you found it. People who leave trolleys just outside the shopping center entrance or out on the street, I guess it's like a measure by some people to see how competent you are or how much you care about returning things back the way you found it. And I like see shopping trolleys parked in front of emergency exits. Yes, exits which are supposed to be free because if there's an emergency, people need to go through these exits. People just park their trolleys in front of these emergency exits, and obviously I take the liberty of removing these trolleys, putting them back in a safe position. You know, yeah, that's another thing. People blocking exits and very important pathways with shopping trolleys and trash. It can create serious hazard. You are costing lives there. I know I might sound a little bit extreme saying this, but yeah, just don't block an emergency exit. All right. You can leave your shopping trolley anywhere else other than an emergency exit. I'll say that, even though you should return it back to where you found it or back to its original position. Um, And I've obviously adopted a habit of bringing my trash along with me. I just don't dump it on the street. Um, and I just always bring a backpack with me, and I put my trash in a mini plastic bag I have in my backpack. Because yeah, when I was in Japan, I had to carry around a backpack with me everywhere because yeah, there are no public bins, there are no public benches. If you want to eat something, you go to the park and you realize where's the bins? Where's the they have bins for the bottles and stuff, but not for like general waste. So yeah, I guess maybe at like Tokyo Disney World, you'll see public bins because you get international tourists and all that. Or like obviously it's a theme park. You need people are spending their entire day there. You need adequate facilities. Um, but I think the solution obviously is not just adding more public bins. It's also changing the societal attitude around littering. Sure, it's just a wrapper. Whatever. But if 1,000 people do the exact same thing you do, then it obviously becomes a problem. Just think to yourself, all right, the smaller it is, the more like I guess the smaller it is, the less hassle it should be for you to properly dispose of that waste. If it's such a small thing, just put it in your pocket, put it in your backpack, and you're doing the environment a favor. I know there's a whole scheme here in New South Wales and New South Wales. I think it's Australia wide, called Return and Earn, which is basically you pop a plastic bottle into this machine and it'll give you a 10-cent refund. Alternatively, you can go to a recycling center um, that specializes in recycling bottles and you can get a refund that way. Or you can just pick a plastic bottle off the street and that's a free 10-cent coin in your hand, basically. And if you pick up enough bottles, you can actually get like quite good money from it. If you go to a racetrack after race day or whatever, you'll just see a bunch of cans just discarded everywhere. That's like really good money. And I know in like other countries like Germany, they have like similar systems where if you recycle your plastic bottles, you get some money back. I think that is a very good measure. Obviously, I don't know if they have it in the United States or Japan or anywhere else. Um, but I think it doesn't really solve the issue of, I guess, other waste created by junk food, especially in junk food restaurants, because there's a reason why I don't really dine into fast food joints anymore because they're always like so dirty. There's rubbish everywhere. It's not the employees' fault. In fact, the employees actually clean the restaurant up pretty well. It's just the people, I guess. But even then, I guess it's corporate for not offering enough trays. Um, you know, so yeah, bring back the trays at fast food restaurants, and like you don't have to be like spotless or anything, but if there's no room in the rubbish bin for you to put your rubbish in, just put it on the top. Don't leave your rubbish scattered everywhere on a table. Put it in like a nice pile if you have nowhere else to put it. It'll make um like the employees' lives a lot easier. And this is coming from someone who worked in fast food who had to clean up hideous messes because people would just leave their rubbish, their half-eaten food all over the table. Like imagine a fast food joint, being like a friend's house, for instance. You wouldn't trash a friend's house or your grandparents' house, nor should you trash a fast food joint because, you may think, oh, well, I paid for the food, the employees are paid to clean it up, but we're not getting paid extra money to clean up like bigger messes, if you know what I mean, like messes that are unnecessarily created because people, they can't put everything into a single pile. I still have like trauma from that basically. Um, but it's yeah, just I guess just common sense. And I know like the vast majority of people in this country don't litter. It's maybe just like 5 or 10%, or a very small amount who do, and that's all the rubbish I see on the street. Um, and I remember in the. I'm saying remember like if I was alive in the 80s, but I remember hearing that in the 80s, Australia had a Keep Australia Beautiful campaign, which was initiated so then people would litter less and care more about our public parks and environment. We should bring back that campaign, Or I guess it's like you know, what other strategies to prevent littering? I guess like more clearer signage where bins are, and I guess changing the bins out regularly because some of these bins can get like really full and then the rubbish like tips out. Um, you know, I know some towns in around the country, like Katoomba, for instance. It's a town in the Blue Mountains. I've been there. They've actually outlawed like McDonald's from ever operating a store there. They explicitly state McDonald's is not allowed, KFC is not allowed because the rubbish that it'll create around the area. And obviously, I still saw trash around Katoomba, litter discarded everywhere, but not to like a great extent, you know. So yeah, I guess fast food joints can easily generate trash around the area, um, which I guess is to be expected. But um, if it's not in the bin, it's on you. I think that was a slogan created by the New South Wales government, um, and I agree with it. Yeah, obviously, we don't have to, like enforcing a fine for like littering just a small wrapper or whatever is a little bit too extreme, I reckon. But obviously dumping, like entire bags of waste near an industrial site is obviously a hazard and a risk. But it should be more of a decency thing. You wouldn't trash a friend's house. You wouldn't trash the city that we live in. If you're a tourist coming to Australia, I, like obviously tourists, they follow the rules and all that. Most of them, and I guess there's like some tourists online, the idiotic ones that think that, um, don't take this the wrong way or anything, but those idiotic like influencers who come to like you go to countries, foreign countries, and they just like start shouting and making a mess and all that. But yet again, that's like a very very small fraction. And obviously, whenever I go overseas, I pick up rubbish. I remember one time I was in a public park in Japan, and I picked up a small wrapper, and someone a stranger, they just came up to me and they said, "Oh, thank you," it was really weird, but like yeah, when you go overseas, obviously you wouldn't trash a place because you don't want to get into trouble. Um, it's like visiting someone's house. You follow the customs, the law, and you treat the environment with respect. The environment is for everyone to share, and um, yet again though, like people, I argue that 99% of people in Australia, they obviously, have consideration for the environment. International tourists that come to Australia, obviously, they're not an issue. I haven't really seen any, I guess, tourists creating much trouble. Yet again, it's, you know, I bet as soon as I say that, there's going to be like some news article. It's like American tourists, it's always the American tourists. But to be fair, Australian tourists can act pretty wild overseas, especially in Bali. Bali is such a beautiful place. I've seen the images online; it looks beautiful. But so many Aussie tourists that go there kind of deter me. It's like it seems a little bit too wild. That's what I mean. It's like I don't want to get like too political or anything, but it is just a decency sort of thing. Going overseas is like going to someone else's house. Um, but going out to downtown or a suburb that neighboring suburb or even just on your street, it's like you wouldn't trash your own house. All right, everyone deserves to live in a clean, safe environment. um, and yeah, like I'll create a challenge. Try and pick up 10 plastic bottles a day, all right? Or at least one plastic bottle. Just set yourself a limit. Um, and that's extra revenue. If your state or where you live, it could be Australia or abroad, if they have like a recycling program, 10 cents, 20 cents for a bottle, whatever your local currency is, take that, I guess, opportunity. Pick up one plastic bottle a day, and you already save 365 bottles a year from our oceans. And I guess another thing can also be producing less waste. Australia is we're really ranked highly in terms of the amount of textile waste that we produce. We produce a lot of textile waste, discarded clothes, and all that end up in landfill. We literally pay other countries to take our landfill. That's how serious it's gotten. Um, you know, go to your local secondhand shop. Just buy good quality clothing where you can, ethically sourced. And just donate your old clothes to your local Vinnies or Red Cross. And try and, like, I guess, recycle. Reduce, reuse, recycle. It may seem very small on an individual level, but if I guess more people adopt it, we can really make this world a better place. The environment um, a much better place, and especially now where we're very much concerned with global warming and the impacts of climate change and rubbish in our oceans and all that. Yeah, I'm not part of Greenpeace or anything, but I love to live in a safe and clean environment. Um, you know, and yeah, again, I guess it's just another video of me rambling about line bikes and e-bikes and rental bikes that are just discarded everywhere. Um, you know, I guess that's a more complex issue because there's not much, I guess, regulation behind those e-bikes, and some people just act recklessly on them. You have people going like 50 kilometers an hour on a sidewalk without any, you know, care whatsoever. They don't even ring a bell or anything. They just like zoom past you. It's basically like motorcycles on a sidewalk. So either there should be like a speed cap on these motorcycles, um, or like more dedicated bike lanes. Because yeah, e-bikes, I guess they're relatively like new thing that's been rolled out across Sydney. But whenever I see one, whenever I go out, it's just and trying to navigate these people as well. They like to swerve close to you, and it just scares me. When I was in Japan, I know I keep talking about Japan a lot, but I feel like we can take some lessons from Japan when it comes to bicycle etiquette. Yeah, again, I haven't been to like the Netherlands or anything, Denmark, but yeah, when I was in Japan, even going across some of the very like narrow streets they have in Tokyo, people ring their bells and you just step to the side, they give you a wave, and yeah, that's how it should be done. Just ring your bell. Ring a bell. Don't go insanely fast. I've seen some people with like line bikes, whatever. They try to like do risky stunts. They're trying to go downstairs whilst riding in a line bike. I've heard stories of that. It's just like all just reckless behavior. Um, you know, Imagine a line bike or one of those e-bikes is basically a motorcycle, right? They weigh a lot. Some of the, I guess, proprietary ones, some of the ones where it's like a dedicated e-bike, they have like very large batteries. It's basically like a rhinoceros charging at you. And I'm generally optimistic about the future of, I guess, um, not e-bikes, but like travel by like bike travel. Sydney, we've recently, I guess, rolled out a lot more bike lanes, which is a good thing. But we're still in, I guess, that quote unquote experimental phase. And if we could just, adopt common decency, like, you know, driving, for instance. There's a reason why there's a horn on your car and indicators and all that. If people, I guess, are more careful whilst riding one of these bikes, then I wouldn't be too concerned about them. But what can you do? I mean, they are a good idea on paper. It gets people out of cars, but yet again, the way I've just seen them discarded and all that, it is saddening. It is sad. And I guess to really conclude this video, don't litter. Um, if it's not in the bin, it's on you. Um, if you just have a small wrap or anything, just try and keep it in your pocket. I know this may just sound like commonplace, but you know, it just some people just think why bother? It's just a small little wrapper. But if it's so small, then um, just try and hold on to it as long as you can. Just find your local train station, tram stop. They always have bins. Um, you know, um, I know I might sound a little bit, I guess, strict saying this, but I'll try. I guess encourage people where you can. Challenge yourself. Pick up one plastic bottle a day from the street or whatever. Do your part, I guess, in being an active citizen. That's something I mentioned earlier on this series. Being an active citizen and, I guess, advocating for everyone to live in a clean, safe environment. And I guess if you're the head of like KFC or Hungry Jack's, whatever, please bring back the trays, right? I love the trays, they just add that little sense of professionalism, I just hate taking a bag and then, just eating on the table without any cover. Usually I just put the bag, like, I take everything out of the bag and then I just put it down like a plate, sort of. But yet again, it doesn't have that same area as a tray, and stuff can fall off of it. And yeah, just reduce, reuse, recycle. Um, and we can slowly make our communities a lot more greener. And is there anything else I want to say about today? Not really. Just the fact that I saw just a lot of litter around the streets. Surprisingly, though, um, you know, um, I have seen like a massive reduction in litter along George Street. George Street isn't as, I guess, polluted as it was because of the new light rail that goes along George Street. Before it was just all cars and buses, and I guess you had a lot of like air pollution, a lot of smog, a lot of like trash. But now it's like mostly cleaned up, which is a good thing. You know, um, I've certainly seen improvements in this city when it comes to, I guess, um, you know, pollution and litter. But in some areas I've seen it go just a little bit worse. Um, but at the end of the day, I'm not an environmental, um, I guess, officer or anything. I'm not gonna like pull people and say, why did you litter? Obviously, I'll be a massive asshole for doing that. Telling people off for littering, but as someone who, yet again catches a lot of public transport, I can see how dirty it's become, even with like wear and tear. Treat your local bus or train route like you would with your own car, essentially. Yet again, most of the things I'm saying here seem commonplace, but um, you know, as my dad once said, common sense isn't so common. It's one of those like boomer quotes, but yeah, I guess you know, become a green thumb today. Yeah, I can most probably close that book about my rants about the environment and pollution, which trigger my OCD a bit. But yeah, what else? Oh man, I feel like I want to talk about something else. I have been like very tired as of late. I'm nearly like half asleep recording this, which is not good. I have really been cutting down on sugar. Just cutting down on junk food. I did get the McSmart meal today from McDonald's, and obviously I put my trash in the bin. But just even when I was at the McDonald's, just seeing all the waste on the floor, it kind of inspired me to make today's video about pollution and waste. And you know, um, I haven't actually gotten a McSmart meal before. I think this was my first time. But you haven't had McDonald's in ages. And obviously I'm trying to cut down on all the junk food, all the ice creams, all that sugary and fatty stuff. But I usually just get it as like a snack, a nice little treat. Um, Other than that, I'm still looking for a job. Hopefully something comes eventually. But yeah, my life's been going pretty good, and hopefully you have a great rest of your day or night or whatever time you're watching this. And I'm gonna end this video before I start stumbling my words like Joe Biden, like it's just, yeah, I'm really tired. But anyway, I guess I'll catch you all later, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great one.